I was first introduced to anything Japanese when I went to college. I took a class in anthropology class in Japanese culture, and the most memorable thing from that class was that on the first day the professor said, "Does anyone know anything about Japan?" And someone answered, "They have those saws that work backwards." And the professor said, "They don't work backwards, they work differently." And that was a very long time ago, but I remember it like it was yesterday.
So we wanted to do a little ceremony to commemorate this moment of putting it up. The first tradition, and most of this is just by reading what was in the newspaper. I'm not like an expert on this, but reading what was in the neighspaper about some of the traditional ceremonies. So the first one we'd like to do is there any people here, neighbors who live on Pierce Road? We have some? Yeah, a couple. There is a traditional ceremony of having the neighbors over at dawn. I was here at dawn, but the neighbors weren't. To apologize for the commotion of building a house. And the tradition is to offer a little sake to appease your anger. So I was hoping you'd be willing to come forward and we'd have this little, it'd be a small amount because it is before sunset.
Normally you have a lot of machines that do woodworking. People rely on machines for woodworking. But I learned very early on that learning how to use hand tools and really become proficient with hand tools was a freeing thing, because you could build with hand tools anything that you could sort of dream up in your mind. With machines, there's limitations, and they do certain things well, but they're not that flexible. And I love the idea that I could have a toolbox with all my hand tools, and I could put it on my shoulder and go anywhere and build things without having to have electricity or power tools.
The center post is called the Daikoku post, which is, Daikoku is the god of plenty.
Center post, the Daikoku post, should sit on a stone in the shape of a tortoise, and a tortoise signifies long life. So I thought I should do that, and so I went over to Vermont, and in the West River I found a stone in the shape of a tortoise and brought it back and incorporate that into the foundation.
Normally the post is wrapped ahead to warn the neighborhood that construction is going to take place and that this is going to, there's going to be some building going up here. In Shinto, the old religion of Japan is Shinto, and as I understand it, I'm not, once again, an expert, but there's a belief that everything, rocks, earth, fire, air, has a spirit. And so that when you're doing things like, building something, you need to make an offering to those spirits that are in all things. And so that's what we would like to do right now in our sort of unknowing way, because we have some of the things we are pretty sure are important in these types of ceremonies. For celebration, the three things that are always often incorporated is pine, bamboo, and plum. So we have some representations of those. Also, we have, we're going to place some different forms of rice.
In 1987, the main beam was inscribed with the date and the names of the carpenters that cut the frame. Today we have a Japanese friend who is inscribing the beam again with the current date, my name, as well as Sean Macy and Rich Lieberstein's name, as they help me install the sills, and they will help me get the roof covered. Things that I tried to do in working on this building was to do things as they would have been done in Japan. And by doing that, using traditional tools, the size of things is traditional measurements. All the techniques are the same as what they would have been done in Japan for hundreds of years. You are able to take advantage of all the years of refining that has happened in Japan. My sense is that in Japan, they're constantly trying to refine things and improve and make subtle adjustments. And by following the tradition of working with wood, then the result is that you have produced something that is using all the information that has been gathered in hundreds of years of making buildings like this.
Put the pretty side out. Now we gotta do it all again.
Pull up here. Hold it. And we want to set it in position with a block under the shoulders. That block will sit on top of the wall. Wait a minute. Hold up, guys. So what we have to do is this poke
I would say
that's within.
she needs it. That looks good.
What?
Oh, this space? Yeah.
This building is very much a traditional Japanese home, and has the measurements and sizing that you would find in Japan. You enter at the lowest level and first step onto a floor that would be either packed clay or stone. In this case, I chose stone because the New England environment is so wet. I was worried that the packed clay might deteriorate. There would have been a traditional round sand pit where they would cook with charcoal, and the smoke would just rise up through the house and often going out through a smoke hole at the top. I didn't want to have the charcoal cooking because all the smoke aspect, but I wanted to represent that in some way. So I found at a local stone yard, a broken, really large broken millstone that had a chunk snapped off one side. And I thought that if I cut that straight, I could fit it into the space and be a reference to the cooking area. It had a hole in the center, and I thought maybe at some point I might add some kind of burner, a gas burner or something in there so that you could cook, but it would represent the traditional cooking area. After 15 years, we've completed the interior. The next phase is to do a Japanese garden to go with the house so that you will have the outside experience will match the inside with that quiet feeling. But I feel like the project has been successful in building a building like you would find in Japan using the traditional techniques. The trouble with a project like this is that it is never really complete. There are always small changes to be made, but I'm looking forward to trying to refine and adjust things over time, just like they would do in Japan.